That is the hull of the HMS Endurance, the sunken ship of legendary polar explorer Ernest Shackleton, discovered all the way down in the icy depths of the Antarctic Ocean.
In 1915, a ship called the Endurance was crushed by ice in the middle of nowhere. For decades, we only had blurry, faded photos of the men who survived that nightmare.
Shackleton had been twice to Antarctica before. He got within a whisker of the South Pole in 1909. When he came back, he was knighted. He was a big celebrity.
That all changed when a team of digital experts decided to let a computer program rewrite the past. They promised to show us the truth, but they ended up creating a mystery that has left historians completely speechless. This is the story of how a single piece of technology almost erased the truth about one of the greatest survival stories ever told, and it is not even close. Broken memories of a sunken ship. A photograph has haunted people for more than 100 years. It was taken in 1915 in one of the coldest and most dangerous places on Earth, Antarctica. This is a land of endless ice, freezing wind, and total silence. In the photo, you can see a ship called the Endurance. It is stuck, completely trapped in thick sea ice. The wooden hull is squeezed by frozen walls that stretch in every direction. There is no open water and no escape. Standing beside the ship are 28 men. They are dressed in heavy coats, wool hats, and boots. Their faces are hard to see because the photo is old and blurry, but their posture tells the story. They stand still and tired, watching their only way home slowly being crushed by the ice. This is not just any crew. These are the men led by Sir Ernest Shackleton. They set out to cross the entire Antarctic continent on foot. It was supposed to be a journey of glory. Instead, it became a fight for survival. The Endurance left England in August of 1914. By January of 1915, it was trapped. The ice closed in like a vice. For months, the crew waited and hoped the ice would melt. They played games and took care of the sled dogs. They also took photographs. Cameras were rare and film was expensive. Every shot had to count. That single photograph became one of the most famous images of polar exploration. People stared at it for decades, imagining what those men felt. But the photo was never perfect. Time had damaged it. The image was grainy and full of shadows. Faces were unclear. Historians wanted to know more. They wanted to see the men's expressions and identify who was standing where. For over 100 years, technology was not good enough to help. The photo stayed the way it was, frozen and incomplete. Then artificial intelligence arrived. Experts thought they had finally found the answer. They believed AI could reveal what had been hidden for so long. They were right, but the result left them in total shock. To put it in simple words, the computer did something no one expected. When the experts ran the old image through the new software, the transformation was instant. Most people look right past the part that actually matters, but the experts did not. They saw faces that were once just gray blobs turn into real people. You could see the wrinkles on their foreheads and the dirt under their fingernails. It was like the men were standing right in front of them. The ship, which used to look like a ghost in the fog, suddenly looked solid. You could see the grain in the wood and the frost on the ropes. Everyone celebrated this as a huge win for history. They thought they had finally conquered time. But then a few historians noticed something that made no sense. If you look a little closer, you find the real story is much darker. They started seeing things in the photo that should not have been invented. This is the part that makes absolutely no sense at all. One man was wearing a piece of clothing that did not exist in 1915. Another man had a tool that looked like it was from a hardware store in the year 2000. The AI had not just fixed the photo, it had started making things up. It was dreaming about the past instead of showing it. This changed everything for the team of experts. They realized they were not looking at a restored piece of history. They were looking at a digital lie. The excitement turned into fear. They wondered how many other photos had been changed like this. To say it was a big mistake is not even the half of it. It changed how we look at every old image we have. While everyone was looking at the faces, this was happening in the background. Silent witness of the great ice. Taking a photograph in Antarctica in 1915 was not like snapping a picture today. There were no smartphones or digital cameras. Photography in the frozen South was a very difficult task. The photographer was a man named Frank Hurley. He was only 29 years old, but he was one of the best in the world. Hurley had traveled to Antarctica before and knew the dangers. He knew the cold could freeze camera parts. He knew film could crack in the freezing air. He knew every photo might be his last one. Hurley's camera was big and heavy. It weighed over 20 pounds. He had to carry it carefully across the ice. He also carried glass plates instead of modern film. Each plate had to be loaded by hand in complete darkness. If light touched the plate too soon, the image would be ruined. In Antarctica, storms could hit without warning. This made photography almost impossible. But Hurley was determined. He believed these photos would matter. He worked in temperatures that made his fingers numb. He worked in wind that could blow his equipment away. The photo of the Endurance trapped in ice was taken during a time of waiting. At first, the men stayed hopeful. Shackleton kept everyone feeling good. The men joked and told stories. They played football on the ice. They hunted seals for food and kept the ship as warm as possible. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. The ice was not melting. Every day, they could hear the ship creaking and cracking. The wood was bending in ways it was never meant to bend. The Endurance was being slowly destroyed by nature. Still, life went on. The men followed routines and ate meals together. And Hurley kept taking photos. He set up his tripod and framed the shot carefully. He wanted to show how small the men were compared to the power of nature. When Hurley pressed the button, he did not know this photo would become legendary. He was just doing his job. The crew did not pose like models or smile. They simply stood there looking at the ship. Some had their hands in their pockets. They looked tired and worried. This was the real moment Hurley captured. It was a moment between hope and disaster. For over a century, that moment stayed exactly as Hurley saw it. It was blurry and faded, but it was honest. That honesty is what made the photo so powerful. People could feel the cold just by looking at the grain of the image. But when the computer got involved, that feeling disappeared. Believe it or not, it gets even weirder when you realize what the computer thought it was seeing. Most folks have no idea that the AI was looking at the photo through a modern lens. It did not understand that the world in 1915 looked different than our world today. It started adding things based on what it saw in the year 2026. This is the part that trips everyone up. The AI saw a man's hand and decided he needed to be holding something. So it added a detail that looked like a modern glove. It saw a shadow on the ship and turned it into a piece of modern metal. The experts were horrified. They realized that by trying to make the past clearer, they were actually erasing it. They were replacing real history with a computer's guess. It was not even close to the truth. The more they looked, the more mistakes they found. The tiny details that almost everyone misses were the keys to the whole mystery. They found that the AI had even changed the shape of the ice to make it look more like a movie. It was no longer a record of a real event. It was a digital painting. The computer was hiding a secret that would soon destroy the entire project. Silent errors in the pixels. The decision to use artificial intelligence on the Endurance photograph did not happen overnight. It came after years of watching technology change other old images. Programs could now take damaged photos and make them look brand new. Blurry faces became sharp. Faded colors came back to life. This felt like a miracle to many researchers. They thought they could finally see history the way it actually looked. A team of record keepers decided the Endurance photo was too important to leave blurry. They selected the most advanced program they could find. They scanned the original glass plate at a very high resolution. Then they uploaded it and pressed start. The AI began looking at every tiny part of the image. It identified the ship, the ice, and the men. It started making guesses about what should be there. The process took several hours. The team waited with excitement. They talked about finally seeing every crew member's face clearly. No one expressed any doubt. No one asked if the computer should be trusted with something so important. When the program finished, the team leaned forward. What they saw took their breath away. The photo was totally different. The blur was gone. faces were sharp and detailed. You could see the texture of the coats. The ship's wooden planks were easy to see. It looked like a photograph taken with a modern camera. It looked like you could reach out and touch the men. The team shared it online immediately. Within hours, thousands of people saw it. Everyone was amazed. They said it was history coming alive. But then a historian who had studied the expedition for 30 years looked closer. She noticed the man on the far right was wearing a coat with a zipper. Zippers were not used on expedition clothes in 1915. This was the first crack in the story. Then a specialist looked at the ropes on the ship. They looked too perfect and clean. Real ropes on a ship trapped in ice would be frozen and messy. Then they looked at a man's face. The AI had given him a scar that he never had in real life. The computer had simply invented it to make him look more rugged. The tools near the men's feet were even worse. One looked like a modern tool with a rubber grip. Another looked like a plastic box. None of these things existed when the photo was taken. The AI had also messed up the shadows. One man's shadow went left while another's went right. The sun cannot be in two places at once. The computer did not understand how light works. It just wanted to make the picture look good. Let's look at what is actually happening here. The AI was not remembering the past because it has no memory. It only knows patterns. It had been trained on millions of modern photos. When it saw a blurry coat, it added a zipper because most modern coats have zippers. When it saw a blurry face, it added features from modern people. It was creating a version of the past that looked real but was actually a lie. This is called a digital hallucination. The computer was dreaming up details that never existed, and because the image was so sharp, people believed it. This is a huge problem for history. If we cannot trust our photos, what can we trust? Most people look right past this part, but it is the most important lesson of all. The team had to decide if they would keep the lie or tell the truth. The team that made the photo clearer had to make a hard choice. They took down the AI version from every website. They asked people to stop using it. They told the world exactly what had gone wrong. They showed the original blurry photo next to the sharp fake one. They pointed out every mistake, the zipper, the modern tools, and the fake faces. It became a lesson for everyone. Museums and teachers stopped using the new version. They realized that a blurry truth is better than a sharp lie. Even though the original photo was damaged, it was real. It showed what the photographer actually saw. Every tiny dot on that old glass plate was a piece of the real world from 1915. The AI version was just a computer's guess. This discovery changes how we look at every historical photo. If AI can invent zippers and faces, can we ever trust a digital image again? Are we accidentally erasing our own history just to make it look better on a screen? Tell me what you think in the comments. Please like and subscribe for more mysteries like this.